Well, hello again, beautiful souls. It's Jack Cox, author of Love Not Fear, talking about one world government. If you've been following me for a while and you've read my book, you'll know that I'm very much against a one world government. For a start, I can't see how one could ever possibly be democratic. Just look at the electoral fraud happening in America this year. If a country the size of America can't be democratic, how's the whole world going to organise itself in a democratic way without massive corruption? But there's another reason I'm against it too, and that's because I don't believe that one size fits all. I don't believe that one size does fit all. We are all, people love to say we're all one, and yes, we are all one, but we're all individual manifestations of the one. We come here to Earth to play out our individuality, to manifest our individual traits. And nations are individuals too. They have their own cultures, their own traditions. And national borders are great because they enable national governments to pass laws that suit the people that live within those borders, their culture and their traditions. Makes perfect sense to me. People say, but you can't see the national borders from space. Well, no, I can't see your garden fence either. It doesn't mean I'm going to sit on your lawn and have a picnic. It's just about respecting other people's space. Respecting when you move, when you travel, and you settle, you respect the people who were there before you. That's what it's about. But there's a lot of people at the moment who claim, and I'm not saying they're not, I'm saying I don't know, I'm not in a position to know, who claim to be channeling fifth dimensional beings and above, and people who, I mean, all this fits in with them. I'll move to the age of Aquarius, and which is going to happen in the next few years. It's starting to happen now. We're on the cusp. We're well into the cusp. We're starting now. And the mass conjunction, there's a huge conjunction that's going to happen on the 21st, on the winter solstice. This year, it's all starting to change. Let me say a little bit about channeling, because a lot of people don't believe in it. And a lot of people believe in it, in my humble opinion. Some people believe in it too much. I believe that a channeled message is only as good as the channel, or the channeler if you prefer. But we normally call the pipe the message is pushed down a channel, even though that channel is a person. That pipe is a person. We forget sometimes that that channel is a person. And that person has their own, his or her own beliefs, expectations, worldview. And just no channel is good enough to completely get their own self, their own ego out of the way. And so the message is influenced, filtered through the beliefs of the channel. I think a good example of that was Neil Donald Walsh, who in his books Conversations with God claimed to channel God, whatever you believe God to be. And maybe he was and maybe he wasn't. I've got no reason to doubt that he was channeling God. I think we all channel God every day. Whether we're consciously aware of it or not. That's where our hopes and dreams come from. Maybe I should say just a little bit about my idea of God. I don't think there are any wrong ideas of God, because I think God is everything, the totality of everything. So the only wrong thing you can say about God is that God is only this or that. Because God is everything. Everything we believe about God is true. Everything somebody else says about God is true, as long as they don't say only. I wrote in an article several years ago that God is the soul of the universe, and the universe is the body of God, and that of course means you and me as well. And it was only this year that I learnt that the New Thought movement, the New Thought Church, was that as part of their teachings. I came up with it independently, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. So it always gives me, I always get a warm feeling inside when I know that something I've come up with independently is also believed by other people and has been for a long time. So in that sense, whenever we have a dream, whenever we have an ambition, that ambition has come from God. We are the way. Neil Donald Walsh says this in his books as well. He says that he has God say in his books that the only way I can experience myself is by pretending to be all of you, so I can interact. I don't think he uses the word pretend. I can't remember the word he uses. But that's basically what's going on. We are the way that God interacts with itself. And no disrespect when I call God it. God is both male and female, which is why, and God is everything. God is human, God is monkey, God is rabbit, God is everything. God is the planet, God is the sun, God is everything. God is the black holes, God is everything. The New Thought Church, sometimes called the Unity Church, likes to say Father, Mother, God. Pagans like to say God and Goddess. It's just a different way of saying the same thing. God isn't just one gender. So taking that idea of God, that God exists in every cell of our bodies, in every atom. God lives in the space between the atoms, between the subatomic particles. God is everywhere. And God lives through us. So, yeah, of course we channel God every minute of every day, whether we're consciously aware of it or not. We're getting back to Neil Donald Walsh. It was funny how God agreed with all Neil Donald Walsh's political views. The channeled message is only as pure as the channel. We had Jane Roberts channeling Seth, and some brilliant information came through. And of course, in Miracles was supposed to have been channeled, and maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. There's a lot of brilliant information in there if you can work through the weird language. Esther Hicks claimed to channel a being called Abraham, and maybe she did, and maybe she didn't, I don't know. A lot of brilliant information came through. But now everybody suddenly, at this particular time in the evolution of the planet, of the raising of the vibrations on the planet, of the alignments in the solar system, and it's not just Jupiter and Saturn. There's a whole load of things going on. And I spoke in my last video about how astrology may possibly work. I used the analogy of a clock. I said that maybe you can't tell the time because you're inside the clock, you can't see the clock face. That maybe you can learn to tell the time by the position of the cogs. It was just an analogy, it wasn't meant to be taken literally. But all these channels are coming through now. Laurie Ladd is one of the more popular ones, and I like a lot of the stuff she comes through with. It's brilliant. But don't take any channeled message as gospel. Don't take the gospels as gospel either. Don't get me started on that. I was going to actually, it's funny, I'm going to little aside. I wasn't going to talk about all this heavy stuff today. I was going to talk about, make a nice light Christmassy thing. And maybe I'll do that next week. But I did write an article about it, and it's on my, it's not on Love Not Fear, it's on my other website, theinspirationalblog.org. The-inspirational-blog.org. About the origins of Christmas and why we celebrate Jesus' birthday at the time of the winter solstice. So look, read it up if you want. Maybe I'll do a talk about it next week. I lost my track now. I lost my train of thought now. I'm an old git, aren't I? So yeah, there's all these channels talking about this transition that we're going through. We're moving from the third to the fifth dimension. Why we're not transitioning through the fourth, I don't know. I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking anybody else's beliefs. And if you know the answer, please put it below in the comments so other people can, in the comments, so other people can, so I can learn. I'm always trying to learn. But the vibrations of the earth are rising. We are becoming more spiritual, and that is unstoppable. And they talk about these fifth dimensional extraterrestrials, the Palladians and people like that. There's other species too from other planets that are here to help us to move up to the next level, and that's fantastic. But one thing all these channels seem to agree on is that all these extraterrestrial species on their own planets, they have one world governments. So how does that gel with my dislike of the idea of one world governments? Well, I had to wrestle with that to start with. In fact, I've been wrestling with it for the last week or so. And then yesterday the light bulb came on for me, and that's why I'm making this video now. They're not using the word government in the same way that we use the word government. They're not talking about a legislative body. I say in my book that we'll need national borders until we're in a position to do away with all government and move into an anarchy. And I'm using anarchy in the proper sense of the word, not in the chaos sense that the word is often misused. When we can live without governments, we can do away with the borders because we won't need laws. Well, of course, at the fifth dimensional level of thinking that we're moving into, we won't need laws. These governments, these one world governments that these other planets are supposed to have, aren't governments in a legislative way. They don't make laws. They don't tell other people what to do. At the fifth dimensional level of thinking, or the higher level of thinking that we're moving into, we don't need to be told not to kill people, not to steal, not to cheat, not to rape, not to abuse little kids, because it would never enter our minds to do such a thing in the first place. So that's the message today. If you hear these people talking about the extraterrestrials that are coming, where they have one world governments, they're not trying to impose totalitarian one world governments on us. They're trying to impose, well, not trying to impose anything. They're trying to help us to evolve into a true anarchy, where we don't need to be told what to do and what not to do. And where these governments, for want of a better word, because we don't have another word, they're not in charge of us, they're not there to tell us what to do. They're just there to provide certain services. And at the fifth level of thinking, there will be no corruption, because there will be no greed, because there will be no money. There will be no hate. There will be no jealousy. And we can help to transcend, do our bit to help the transition into this new world. Some people are calling it the age of love, and that's beautiful. We can transition into the age of love by doing some of the things I suggest in my book. Start learning in small groups how to live together according to these principles. The 10 pillars of utopia that I mentioned in there, one of which is doing away with money and having a free, informal free gift economy based on just peer-to-peer generosity. In the age of love, we won't need bean counting. We won't need to know who's winning and losing. We'll all be trying to help the Joneses keep up with us. We'll all be trying to help each other to thrive. Instead of this age of Pisces, where we're all trying to thrive at each other's expense. The age of Pisces, where big fish eat littler fish. And who eat littler fish, who eat littler fish. All that's out, that's finished. In the age of Aquarius, that'll all be finished. The age of love is where we help each other to thrive. And that's just one of the many pillars, the 10 pillars. Looking after our planet, looking after the other beings that share this planet with us. Respecting Mother Earth as our goddess, as Gaia. I mean, that's one of the pillars. But read the book, it's interesting. You don't have to buy it. I'm not doing this for money. You don't have to buy it. There's a free download on my website, my Love Not Fear website. But please read the book. And just enjoy this transition into the age of Aquarius, the age of love, because it's beautiful. Yeah, there's going to be some rocky moments because the old order, the old top-down order doesn't want to give up power. But we'll soon pass through that. Agenda 2130, Agenda the Great Reset will all just collapse. It'll just fall in on itself because its energies are not compatible with the age of love. So, that's it for today, folks. Namaste.